Hey, hello, how are you? My name is Brian and welcome to my shop. In this video, we are going to build this beautiful, what I call a simple yet elegant side table. A basic shaker design with a nice 15-degree swooping underbevel on the top. We did not feature a drawer. This is just going to be to hold drinks and remotes next to a chair in the living room. What it does feature though is this beautiful curly maple. The character of this wood is beautiful, and it's been collected for quite a while. The wood for the top I've had about 4 years. The legs I probably had for the wood probably for more than 10 years. And the aprons is a piece that I bought probably within the last year. One obstacle we had to overcome with this build was the wood, because it was from different trees and different time periods. All had a different shade to it, so we had to dye the table the color it is to get all the colors equal, which I also think was able to pop the curl a little bit more than what the clear finish would normally have done. So I'm really happy with the way this came out, and if you want to see how I built this, just stay tuned.
So we're going to start this project by breaking the wood down on the miter saw. And from the miter saw, we're going to go to the jointer and we're going to flatten one face, and then we're going to square one side. This is something I always do. I always check how square the fence is to the table before I do anything, because these can move, so periodically check them out before you actually run your wood through. Alright, so now that we jointed the wood, we're going to move on to actually planing it. So as you can see, I got all my bigger tools on mobile carts now, so I'll roll that in. I'll hook up the dust collection, and we will get planing the wood down. I'm going to plane the top first. You're going to notice that's a wider board, and then I will plane the smaller parts. So these are all the parts we're going to need to make this table. That's the one boards for the top, this is the wood for the aprons, and the legs are next. Now the legs are already been tapered. I've had these, about 12 of them laying around, already tapered, ready to go. And here we're going to cut the actual tabletop almost to its final size, a little oversized. Here we're going to give two nice edges for the glue up. We're not just going to glue these together, we're going to dowel the center to help keep the boards in alignment and give it a little bit more strength to the joint. And here we're taking the aprons and we're going to give them a nice little bead detail on the bottom. And you can leave them flat and square, but it's not much for the eye, so I think we put a little bead at the bottom to give it a little bit of a good look. Now we're going to take those aprons, we're going to square one side, and then we're going to cut them to their final length. Once we're done with this, we're going to head over to the bench and we're going to do the doweling one. So for the doweling, we're going to use the Dowelmax. This tool, I'm basically in love with it. I think it's probably one of the best joinery tools out there, and for the money, it is. It gives you accurate joints and strong joints. And for these aprons, we're going to overkill it. We're going to go 7 dowels. So we're going to do the first 5 holes, and then we're going to use a special spacer they give us to put the other 2 holes in. This maple is extremely hard, and my drill bits are a bit dull, so I have to get them sharpened. So you can see it's a little bit of a struggle with drilling them out. I'm only going to demo it on show 1 actually being done, but you can bet your butt that the rest of them got done the same way. And there you go, 7 holes. And that's in real time, so you see how quick this jig works. Now we're going to do the legs. What I'm doing is I'm making sure I'm putting the holes on the sides with the taper. And I'm going to want to leave an 1/8 inch reveal on this. If I just put the jig on it now and used it, the aprons would end up flush. So I'm going to add an 1/8 inch shim here, and it's going to pull it back about 1/8 of an inch and give me the reveal I want on the legs. And it's the same process as doing the aprons. You just line them up to the edge there, lock it down, and drill your holes. And this is real time. Probably be a little quicker if the drill bit was a little bit sharper. Alright, so here we're going to actually put a few dowels in the tabletop to help with alignment on glue up and also give the joint a little bit more strength. What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure in about 3 inches from either side, because I do not want any of the dowels to show up after I put the 15-degree under bevel in the top. And I'm just going to line the jig up to that line as if it was the end of the wood, tighten it down and drill my holes. Now I'm going to drill one hole and I'm going to use a special piece they give you with the kit, so I can move the jig further down the board, because I don't want too many dowels in this. I'm going to probably go about 4. Alright, after adding some dowels and some glue, we glued the top up, and then we're going to set it aside and take care of some of the other tasks on this table. Alright, so we broke out the pocket hole jig, and we're going to use this to put the holes for the top attachment on the aprons. I like using this for that reason. It's quick, it's easy, and they allow for wood movement in the top. Alright, so it's on to everybody's favorite, sanding. So we're going to sand all the aprons and all the legs down to 220. And from that point, we have to put dye on this, so it's going to raise the grain. So after the dye, we're going to go with a little higher grit. Alright, so here's a quick jig I made from some scrap plywood to do our under bevel. Now I could use a router bit, end up with a 45 degree, which I find kind of So I prefer like nice sweeping bevel. So we're gonna do a 15 degree with this jig. It's really easy to make. Takes about, I don't know, 10 minutes to put it together, and it cuts the bevels quite nicely. When you cut the length of the tabletop like I am, I cut the first, I noticed that I had to actually move the fence in a little bit to get the corners to match up. This was because the top is actually longer than it was wide, so I had to make that adjustment to make all the bevels equal and the same. So now we're going to dye the top, the legs, and the apron to get an equal color in the completed table. And we're using Trans Tint Vintage Maple, and I'm using water, not alcohol. And this is going to raise the grain a little bit, but we're going to have to come back with like 600, 800 grit, and we'll take that down and maybe put a second coat of dye on it. That will determine that once we finish it up. Alright, so now we're going to assemble the base. It's simply just gluing up some dowels, put them in the correct holes, add in the aprons and clamps. We do the two smaller sides first, then add the bigger aprons to finish the base. I'm just going to show the assembly of one of the side aprons. You can put together yourself how the rest of it went together, and we'll move on with the rest of this project. Okay, so now we're going to actually add the finish. We're going to use a wiping gel varnish, clear, which I really love this stuff made by Bartley. It's very easy to apply. You just wipe it on, let it sit maybe half a minute or so, and then wipe it off, buff it a little bit. I'm probably going to come back and do this 2 to 3 more times to build it up. And the finish at the end is very, very nice. Very, very simple. Anybody can do it. Look at the curl pop. I love figured woods. Okay, with the finish all applied and dry, we're now going to attach the top, and it's going to be simple as lining it up where I want it, make sure it's pretty evenly spaced, and add a few screws. And once that's done, this table will be finished. Alright, roll the table over, and then we'll take a look, a little close, see how the gaps look, and they look good. This table, it came out pretty nice. Really like the curly maple. We should get a lot of user service out of it. Alright guys, that's gonna do it. Here's a little close-up of the table. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you, bye-bye.